Hey guys, I wanted to go over the Groot deck that I just created. I've been testing it out for about a week now. Pretty awesome. You know, a lot of people think that Groot is not good because of his starting stats 1-1. But after testing it out, you can actually flip him to his second form or his level up form, where it's actually 7-7 as quick as turn 3 with a good, decent hand. So if you look at the level 1 real quick, you know, combat for a green fortress basically, it can actually go up +1/+1 in this combat for every resource. So obviously Groot is going to be built around a acceleration type of deck, basically a ramp deck. And you're going to notice by the cards that I'm using that it's actually top heavy when it comes to the curve, because you can actually get to 5, 6, and 7 resources pretty quickly. And then his level up is actually whenever you play a resource, you actually gain an XP. So we can get to five resources as early as your turn 3, and flip him, and on turn 3 have a 7-7. Obviously, just understand during gameplay, you're going to lose probably average between 2 to 3 wounds before you flip him, which is, you know, it is what it is. But as soon as you flip him, it's very difficult if you play correctly, because at his level 2, he still has the +1/+1 for every resource, which is going to make him, you know, at turn 3, a 12-12 if they're trying to run into him, which is pretty awesome. So that is the hero of the deck. Our first card for 1 drops is 3 Yondus. The reason he's such a big deal is because depending on your hand and depending on who you're playing against, you want someone to block for Groot, and also, so obviously his 2 wound health is going to keep him in the front to maybe save you from an additional wound on your hero, on Groot. And then also his abilities, what really makes him an MVP, is for a red, you actually stun a supporting character with 3 costs or less. So you can clear the board of their supporting characters. Most importantly, he's actually mainly in the deck for Cosmo, because Cosmo's effect will actually absolutely ruin your deck. If they target Groot with their Cosmo, you're actually you're totally ruined. You're just like instant loss. So Yondu's there to smooth out the curve, mainly for Cosmo, but also can be a blocker with his 2 wounds, just to get in the way of some attacks if they don't have any early support characters. Starting with 2 drops is 3 Black Panthers, and again, in the earlier turns, you just want something out there. His ferociousness actually creates a great blocker on off turns, and his 2 wounds again keeps him on the board. I've noticed, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize that 2 plus wound characters are really good in this game, because you want things to stick on the board. You don't want a one-hit wonder, and this is probably the best defensive, even though it is a good offensive character. It's actually a very great defensive character because of its, you know, I like to call it first strike. So it's awesome to keep something on the board and put this in front of Groot if you don't get the MVP support characters, which I'm going to go over right now. So the MVP support characters you want to be molding for is started off with Mantis. Mantis is pretty awesome. For Mantis, because of her resource ability, Rebirth. As soon as she gets KO'd, go straight to the resource row. I don't think I need to say much about that. You know, it's only got 1 wound, so it's doing its job correctly. And there's turns where you actually want to ram your Mantis into the opposing hero, KO Mantis on your turn, just to get that extra resource, so you can accelerate and get Groot to 5 resources as soon as possible. The next one, that's an MVP, and probably, in my opinion, the best support character for this deck is obviously Nick Fury. Nick Fury for yellow, and the thing that I want to make sure people, I don't think some people realize this, with their abilities, you can use them as many times as you want. There is no one-time turn deal. So if you have multiple yellows, you can actually accelerate, because his ability is put the top card of your deck face down into your resource row. If it's a location, you actually may put it face up. So it's pretty awesome. Number one, it accelerates your deck resource rise, which is going to flip or level up your Groot. And if you actually do get a location, it's a win-win. He's got a big fat butt. It's pretty. He's a killer deal. I've literally gone to 6, 7 resources in one turn when you have a lot of the yellow locations and just totally annihilate because you're gonna notice with this deck very top heavy with the curve because you should be mulliganing for Mantis and Nick Fury. Next 3 drop is we got Rocket. Rocket's pretty awesome because it's a I guess you can call it a you get things from your graveyard. Basically, for red, you put a card from your KO pile to your hand. You can get any card. So there's a couple tricks with Rocket is because of Groot's ability for green Fortress, you can actually get +1/+1. Is you can actually be sneaky, and if you don't have any locations on the field in your resource row, you can have a Fortress, a green in your hand, and you can actually play locations in your hand. So you can actually, when they attack into your Groot, thinking that you don't have much, you just annihilate them with the Fortress, go plus X depending on how many resources you have. No, most of the time it's going to be enough to block their attack and wall them, and then you get it back, you get the Fortress back with Rocket. Obviously, you can bring anything back to character or plot twist. One of my favorite tricks is getting a Fortress back and just having that wall over and over and over again. And that's really why I think Groot is so good, because you can wall them so easily because of his ability. So Rocket's really good. Let's see here. Next 3 drop, the last 3 drop is Dr. Octopus, just because he's a great character. I normally put him in the back row, and he's draw. He's draw. Every turn, draw an extra card. Very good stats, 3/5, and it's a very solid creature. And the most important though is getting the draw out of him. And we play two of him. So then we have no 4 drops, and we go straight to 5. 5 is Abomination, and again, when I was building this deck, I wanted to have a top heavy curve because I wanted to ramp into 5 and 6 quickly, and most importantly, I wanted to make sure that the creatures I play had more than 1 wound, because if they do take him out, I want to make sure that they stick around. And this, in my opinion, is the best 5 drop in the game right now because of his monstrous ability. If they have to team attack, which most of the time they will, if you're accelerating at that rate with your resources, they're going to be forced to team attack. And if they team attack him, he can actually strike back against everyone. So great 5 drop, especially in the deck. Next, now we actually mix it up. We go in our 6 drops. We play 2 Drax because he's a very solid 6 drop. It makes it so nothing can fly over him, and also Berserker. So just very solid, nothing can fly over him, and the Berserker +1/+1 every attack. And again, just notice the wounds. You want to stay above the 1 wound counter. Then we're actually going straight into Iron Man, and the main reason for Iron Man is I think he's solid. Going if you're accelerating and you go straight into a 5/7, so he's got solid stats. He's got flight range, so you can put him in the back row, attack, not get stunned back. He does have 1 wound, which kind of sucks, but I think his ability really takes advantage of what you're trying to do. Is because you're going to notice that we're very location heavy as well, because you want to get locations with Nick Fury, and the ability to reuse fortresses for Groot is really, really good. This deck is very fortress heavy. You want to use fortresses a lot, and you're going to see that in a little bit why. Also, the last 6 drop, so we use 6 different 6 drops, so it is very top heavy. 6 drops, 2 Drax, 2 Iron Man, and 2 Magneto. Magneto, in my opinion, is the best 6 drop in the game. Very similar effect as the old verses, where nothing that's stunned can recover. It got flight range, so can attack from the back row, not get stunned back, can fly over, and just very solid. He literally, if you flip and level up Groot on turn 3, and you go straight into 6 resources and do Magneto, you're gonna ruin their board. It's basically game over. You stun their supporting characters; they can't recover. Then they're just they're way behind at that point. So if you go turn 3 Groot into a Magneto on turn 4, basically, it's game over. There's not much they can do. So pretty good stuff there. And then the reason I wanted to make sure I diversified my 6 drops is because we're getting to to 5 and 6 resources, even 7 resources pretty quick. I want to make sure I can play multiple different 6 drops on those turns. So Hulk is our 7 drop. We're playing 2 of Hulk, and again, just 2 wounds, so he's going to stick around, and a big guy. And most importantly is if they do stun him, then you can actually make him massive, a 14/14 with the Fortress ability. So very solid. I mean, one of my favorite 7 drops actually, because it's just very, very solid. And then for 8 drops, we obviously have the only 8 drop in the game with Thanos, and he's just, he's Thanos. 12/12, 2 wounds. I like things with more than one wound counter, and 8 drop. Just death. If you get this off, you can get this off as early as turn 5, and at this point they're playing their 5 drop or their 4 drops, and you're playing a Thanos. There's really not much they can do, and I just understand that you're playing these bigger characters with your 7/7 Groot. I don't really see much of I've never actually used his healing ability. I mean, I'm sure that in a game or two you might use it just to keep Groot around, but the reason I actually kept most of the bigger characters with more than 1 wound is if I ever did have to use this, I could actually recover a wound from all my big creatures, and keep them around and really just dominate the board with just sheer numbers. So really, really good stuff. Then we get into our plot twist. 4 plot twists, 4 copies of Even the Odds. Yeah, one of the best plot twists in the game, in my opinion. It's like basically a counter to anything they can do. That gets rid of all 1/1 counters and makes character back to their base defense. So if they do a plus plot twist, a plus attack plot twist, it goes back. And obviously gets rid of all +1/+1 counters. So in my opinion, I know Thanos is a very strong hero in the game, and this completely annihilates him with his minus. It literally gets rid of all his +1/+1 counters. So very solid card. The next, the last plot twist is 4 copies of Find Cover. So just pretty basic stuff, just defensive card. Gets you out of rough spots. Didn't put any plus attack plot twist just because the whole game plan is to have such big guys on the board that you don't really need them. You're actually going to be ahead of them on the curve every single turn. So come turn 3, for locations we have +4. 4 copies of Fortress. Obviously because Fortress is really important for Groot and for Hulk. Then we got 4 copies of Nowhere, because this is obviously a Guardians of the Galaxy base deck, so you definitely want it Nowhere. Then we got 4 copies of Avengers Mansion, and this is mainly used for Hulk and also for Nick Fury. Those are actually the only uses for them. But you definitely need 4 of these because you definitely want yellow for Nick Fury so you can go off. And then we have 4 copies of Training Ground for Rocket and also for Yondu. And then lastly, we have 4 copies of Academy, and obviously for Nick, it's only for Nick Fury. So that's basically it. That's the whole deck. It's very fun. It actually, when it goes off, it really does go off. And like I said, the only hard counter is if turn 1 they play a Cosmo, then your Groot's ability, he doesn't level up every turn. So the pretty cool part, even if you don't go off, you can still level up. But I mean, I've actually never. I mean, the worst case scenario is you're gonna do it on turn 4, and he'll only have 2 wounds, which really sucks. But it's a 7/7 on turn 4. And at that point, you're going to get some of your higher cards. But most of the time, if you get a Nick Fury with 1 or 2 yellow locations, you're actually going to go off and it just totally annihilate your opponent, as long as they don't have Cosmo. Cosmo is the bane of this deck. So that is it, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.